William Shakespeare, the genius, the legend, the guy whose name haunts every English classroom. We all know the plays, Romeo and Juliet, Hamlet. But what if I told you the man behind them wasn't the saint we imagine? Tonight, forget everything you learned in school. We're diving into the scandals, the curses, and the wildest conspiracy theories about Shakespeare. This isn't about iambic pentameter. It's about the secrets and shadows they never taught you. Get ready to see Shakespeare in a whole new, much darker light. Are you ready? Because this is going to get weird. Let's peel back the layers and see what's been hiding underneath. Picture London in Shakespeare's day, gripped by plague. Theatres closed. Death was everywhere. When the Globe reopened, people craved distraction. Shakespeare didn't just write comedies. His darkest plays, King Lear, Macbeth, emerged during these plague years. He channeled the collective trauma into his work. He knew stories of betrayal and death would hit hard with an audience living through horror. The theatre became a place to process fear. The atmosphere in his plays, dread, corruption, society crumbling, it was their reality. Plays like Titus Andronicus are so violent they shock even today. Shakespeare blurred the line between stage and reality. He was a master psychologist, tapping into the darkness people felt. He spun gold from the bleakest threads, making art out of despair. As the plague raged, he conjured worlds of ghosts, madness, and bloodshed. He gave people what they craved. A reflection of their own dark times. Genius, absolutely, but also a genius who knew how to profit from misery. The witches in Macbeth said it best, something wicked this way comes. Shakespeare's legacy is complex. He made horror poetic. He understood that in times of fear, people are drawn to the macabre. His plays let audiences face their nightmares safely. The world outside was chaos. Inside, he gave them a story to make sense of it. That's why his darkest works still resonate. They were born from real terror. Shakespeare's art was survival for him and his audience. The result? Some of the most enduring, disturbing works ever written. He didn't just reflect the darkness, he shaped it. We all know the story. Shakespeare, the glover's son from Stratford, becomes the world's greatest playwright. But what if he didn't write those plays? Enter the Shakespeare authorship question. There's shockingly little evidence linking the man from Stratford to the masterpieces. No letters, no manuscripts, barely any signatures. His education, modest, yet the plays are packed with elite knowledge, law, foreign languages, courtly life. How did he know so much about places he never visited? That's why some believe the real author was someone else, maybe Sir Francis Bacon, Edward de Vere, or even Christopher Marlowe. If you were a nobleman, writing for the public theatre was scandalous. You'd need a frontman. Shakespeare, the actor, fit the bill. Only 6 signatures survive, all on legal documents, all spelled differently. Suspicious, right? Stratfordians say genius can come from anywhere. Anti-Stratfordians point to the gaps and oddities. Was Shakespeare a pseudonym? A committee? A cover for someone with the right connections? Imagine if your favorite artist was just a face, and the real creators stayed hidden. The idea of the bard as a myth is mind-blowing, and it changes how we see the plays. Was he a literary miracle or the front for a grand deception? The debate rages on, and the mystery only deepens. Who really wrote those words? The question haunts Shakespeare's legacy. Maybe the greatest story he ever told it was about himself. The truth, we may never know, but it makes every line of his work feel a little more mysterious. If the authorship debate wasn't wild enough, let's talk about Shakespeare and witchcraft, specifically Macbeth. In Elizabethan England, fear of witches was real. King James I was obsessed, even writing a book on the subject. Legend says the witches' spells in Macbeth weren't just made up, they were real incantations, borrowed from actual covens. From its first performance, Macbeth has been considered cursed. Actors still call it the Scottish play to avoid bad luck. The list of disasters is long: accidents, deaths, fires, even actors dying on stage. Is it coincidence, or did Shakespeare unleash something he shouldn't have? Maybe it's the power of belief. If everyone thinks a play is cursed, accidents happen. Or maybe those words really do have power. The witches in Macbeth aren't just spooky, they drive the plot. Their words hypnotic and dark. If those lines are real spells, every performance is a ritual. Was Shakespeare just trying to impress King James, or was he dabbling in the occult? In his time, magic and science weren't so separate. Researching real spells wasn't far-fetched. The Curse of Macbeth is one of theatre's oldest legends. It's a reminder, words can be dangerous and some stories carry shadows. Whether you believe in the curse or not, Macbeth's darkness lingers, and that's the terrifying legacy of the Scottish play. Think Shakespeare is all romance and poetry? Think again, his plays are shockingly violent, Tarantino level, but with more thees and thous. Titus Andronicus is a bloodbath, mutilation, cannibalism, revenge. Audiences loved it. Hamlet, nearly everyone dies. Macbeth, assassinations and beheadings. King Lear, eye-gouging right on stage. Elizabethan England was brutal. Public executions and bear-baiting were entertainment. Shakespeare gave the people what they wanted, blood and horror. But he didn't use violence just for shock. He weaponized it, exploring revenge, madness and cruelty. His poetry made horror beautiful even as it disturbed. Violence in his plays isn't just physical, it's psychological. It corrupts, destroys and torments. Characters are haunted by their own deeds, driven mad by guilt and ambition. Shakespeare made you feel the horror, not just see it. Theatricality mattered. Imagine seeing an eye gouged out live with primitive stage effects. It was visceral. He pushed boundaries, confronting audiences with the ugliest parts of humanity. This isn't the gentle, romantic Shakespeare of textbooks. He was a precursor to modern horror, blending gore with complex characters and stylized dialogue. He knew the dramatic power of violence and how to use it to grab an audience by the throat. Next time you hear Shakespeare was just a poet, remember the severed heads and poisonings. He wasn't afraid to show the raw, brutal side of life. He made horror into high art, and that's why his plays still unsettle us. Shakespeare was the original master of dramatic gore. His violence wasn't just spectacle, it was a window into the darkest corners of the human soul. That's the Shakespeare they don't teach in school. He understood that sometimes the most powerful stories are the ones that make us squirm, and he made sure we never forgot it. Beyond the blood, Shakespeare's darkness is psychological. He was a master manipulator of characters and audience alike. His villains aren't cartoonish, they're charismatic, intelligent, disturbingly relatable. Richard III makes us his confidants. Iago in Othello is pure evil, but we're captivated by his schemes. Through soliloquies, Shakespeare lets us into their twisted minds. We see their logic, their motivations, and it's terrifying. He blurs moral lines. Heroes make terrible mistakes. Villains show vulnerability. He forces us to question our own judgments. Watching Iago destroy Othello is chilling. We're complicit in the horror. Shakespeare understood the human psyche. His plays are psychological thrillers where the real battles are inside the mind. He holds up a mirror to our darkest impulses. Maybe there's a bit of Iago or Lady Macbeth in all of us. That's why his plays endure. They dissect what it means to be human, flaws and all. He makes us root for villains, doubt heroes, and question our own morality. He was the ultimate puppet master, pulling emotional strings centuries before psychology was a science. His characters are alive because they're contradictions, just like us. The most compelling drama comes from internal conflict, and sometimes he lets the darkness win. Shakespeare changed the world, but maybe not with light, with shadows. He forced us to stare into the dark parts of ourselves. Jealousy, ambition, cruelty. That's why his works still haunt us. They reflect the darkness we recognize inside. We see ourselves in his flawed, tragic characters, and we're drawn to it. So next time someone calls Shakespeare boring, remind them of the blood, the curses, the conspiracies. He was the original king of horror, the explorer of twisted minds. Shakespeare didn't just chronicle human nature, he dissected its darkest corners, and that's anything but boring.